Hello, hello. Hi guys. We're back with we got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff happening. So let's finish up getting started here. let's see. Okay, so last time we were here, um we covered a bunch of new motions and filings in the Karen Reed case. We followed the Karen Reed case, and things did not go as planned. So today we are covering more filings and motions for the Karen Reed case because it is still just a mess. Tomorrow there was supposed to be a scheduling hearing for trial number 2. Is the itinerary for that meeting going to change? Probably, due to all of the things that have happened over the course of since a mistrial was claimed and immediately declared that another trial is going to happen. So that's crazy. We're into it. I have this up on YouTube and Twitch. I don't know much about Twitch. Twitch is not my home. YouTube is my home. So I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see what happens. So if you are here from either of those, let me know. Say hello. Whichever one you are, whichever one you dig, whichever one you're hopping in on. Let me just take a look, make sure everything is good to go. Looks good here. All right, we last time, I don't even remember when I was here. Last time we covered the jurors coming out and intermediaries coming out for specific jurors. Today, we are going to start with the Commonwealth's opposition to defendants' post-trial motion to dismiss. So, obviously, there was a motion to dismiss that we definitely went over. It was a long time ago. Motion to dismiss due to the mistrial and due to jurors coming forward and saying, but it was not guilty on all. It was not guilty on counts 1 and 3. So, but they didn't write that, and it was mistrial. So let's pull up this bad boy here. So we heard from the defense a bunch. We are going to hear from the Commonwealth today, and we are also going to hear directly from a juror on a completely different topic than what they voted for. So buckle up because it gets kind of wild, it gets kind of crazy, it gets unfortunate. So we have some things to do. All right, so this was filed, what, 10, 11 days ago? So Commonwealth's opposition to defendant's post-trial motion to dismiss. It might be hard to see. I will read it. Now comes the Commonwealth. Oh, actually, before we do that, we have to do the thing that I forgot to do and I cannot forget to do. I love that so much. That just makes me so happy. I'm hungover, but I'm here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All you have to do is listen, right? Because you don't have to do anything. So being hungover is fine. It is A-okay by me. All right, so we are starting with, let me pull it back up, the Commonwealth's opposition to defendant's post-trial motion to dismiss. So now comes the Commonwealth. Now comes it feels like they're being announced. like uh uh the first time a married couple enters the room. Now comes Mr. and Mrs. Commonwealth, Mr. and Mrs. Lally. Now comes the Commonwealth in opposition to the defendant's post-trial motion to dismiss her indictments for second-degree murder and leaving the scene after causing death, as the defendant's motion is premised upon hearsay, conjecture, and legally inappropriate reliance as to the substance of jury deliberations. That is a very strong sentence. Let's just go over it one more time. Maybe we'll break it down. Now comes the Commonwealth. Now comes the Commonwealth in opposition. Whoop, whoop, court. Court time. Now comes the Commonwealth in opposition to the defendant's post-trial motion to dismiss her indictments for second-degree murder and leaving the scene after causing death, as the defendant's motion is premised upon hearsay, conjecture, and legally inappropriate reliance as to the substance of jury deliberations. Um, some of it is, I can agree, some of it is hearsay. Some of it is, well, someone said that someone said that they said. Sure, I get that. Conjecture, I get that you can't fully rely on an intermediary's depiction of someone's relaying of information. Sure, I get that. Legally inappropriate reliance as to the substance of jury deliberations. Ooh, that's a tough one for me because I don't think we saw any of the defense team's motions and supplementaries marking how the deliberations went, only that they did have a final vote. And for count 1 and 3, they were not guilty. 12-0, all or nothing, was the energy that Judge Cannoni was sort of giving the jury. So that's where the issues came. That's where the issues happened. That's where things went wrong. Um, hmm. So let's continue reading because we have a lot to go through today. Further, contrary to the defendant's claims, throughout jury deliberations, the defendant was given a full opportunity to be heard. The jury's communications to the court explicitly indicated an impasse on all charges. Ooh, I'm going to have to say I disagree with explicitly indicated an impasse on all charges. It definitely wasn't. I don't know. No, that's not fair. We have gone back. We have watched it. I'm sure if you are into this trial, you have probably watched it a couple of times. It definitely was not explicit. It was the jury is at an impasse. Bring the jury, call them in, bring them here right now, sit them down, we're done. And then the letter was read, the note was read. So I don't think it was explicit enough. There was not enough clarification between if they meant each of the 3 charges or if they meant the lesser charges within count number 2. So I definitely think that is a very clear miscommunication and issue here that the jury had, and saying that the jury's communications to the court explicitly indicated an impasse on all charges is a bit of a reach. And the court carefully considered alternatives before declaring a mistrial. The court considered alternatives before declaring a mistrial. That is true. We went the route. Hey, there was a note. Can we get this thing? Nope, it doesn't exist. You have all the evidence. Hey, we're in an impasse. I'm going to need you guys to give it another go. Hey, we're at an impasse. Tui Rodriguez. Hey, we're at an impasse. Mistrial. So yes, alternatives were considered, but the final moment is where things got a little iffy, or things got a little rocky. The defendant's unsubstantiated but sensational post-trial claim that the jury reached a unanimous decision to acquit lacks any merit or legal foundation. Strong words from Lally. And mind you, I'm not a lawyer. And this is all very understandable. This is all very recognizable. This is all very digestible information. I think as time has gone on, lawyers are not just recognizing that their language, which is a completely different language than ours, like essentially legalese is a language that you must learn. Um, their language needs to sort of meet a middle ground with a layman's language. And I think both sides have done a fantastic job here, especially because of how in the media, how many eyeballs, how many people are breaking this down, are looking at this, are reading it so much more than a typical amount of people who are reading legal documents. So I think this is fantastic. I don't think I've ever had an issue with anything that the Commonwealth has written, um, nor the defense. But I know that if you go back through, pull a trial from 20, 30, 40 years ago, there might be some issues. And there's things that most people are going to be like, I need a definition of that. So I think the clarity is becoming fantastic. I wish that existed for the jury. I wish that existed for the jury when they were handed this case to start deliberating on. On June 9th, 2022, the defendant was indicted by a Norfolk grand jury for second-degree murder in violation of blank manslaughter while operating under the influence, in violation of I'm not going to read all those letters and numbers, and leaving the scene of a personal injury / death in violation of blank. On April 16th, 2024, a 10-week jury trial commenced. Beverly J. Canoni was the judge. The jury began the deliberations on June 25th, 2024. In addition to the 3 indictments, the jury was instructed to consider 2 lesser included offenses to manslaughter while operating under the influence. Let me get to the next page here. I'm just grabbing this off of Reddit. This page seems to be a little more clear with the print. Involuntary manslaughter in violation of blank, and 2, motor vehicle homicide, OUI, liquor, and negligence in violation of letters and numbers. The defendant's motion states that the court's decision to declare a mistrial was sudden, brief. I'm doing quotes just in case you're looking, or just in case you're like not reading along. Was sudden, brief, and unexpected, neither preceded nor accompanied by discussion with counsel. I want to say yes, but I also want to say no. It was sudden, brief, and unexpected, neither preceded nor accompanied by discussion with counsel. Yes. The judge said we're at an impasse and said, "Come here, jury, time to go home." Was there time to if you so the Commonwealth is basically saying, you guys said this, but there was like space in time. There was space in time for you to speak up, and there was. Did the defense sort of, I don't want to say dramatize, but did the defense give the feel of it was the jury was like ready to come in as the judge finished the word impasse? Yes, they did give it a little bit of a drama there, but to be fair, we went over this last time. You don't know the impasse that they're at. Is it 11-1 not guilty? Is it just on one charge? Is it 11-1 guilty? So there's a risk there as well. So continuing on, yet the defendant's motion and supporting affidavits of counsel inexplicably omit the full opportunity that the defendant was given to be heard and the defendant's consent to the mistrial. Yes, there was time to speak up. Did they speak up? No. Are there perfectly good reasons for them not to speak up? Yes. Should they have spoken up? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Should they have said, I object to this? Shouldn't there be more? Uh, did they poll the jury? No. We'll get to that. We'll get there. There's so much happening. This is so crazy. Da, 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 da. Okay, beginning on Friday, June 28th, 2024, at approximately 12:15 p.m., the jury sent a note stating, I am writing to inform you on behalf of the jury that despite our exhaustive review of the evidence and our diligent consideration of all disputed evidence, we have been unable to reach a unanimous verdict. At that time, the court requested argument from the Commonwealth and defendant as to whether the jury had engaged in due and thorough deliberations. My camera isn't doing the thing that it did last time. I think I fixed it. I'm happy. The Commonwealth responded that the jury had not had sufficient time to deliberate and requested that the jury be instructed to continue their deliberations. On the contrary, this is where things get fun. On the contrary, Attorney Yannetti argued, we believe that there has been sufficient time and advocated for the jury to be declared deadlocked and provided the Tui Rodriguez instruction. So this is a fun time where the Commonwealth gets to use the defense's arguments in court against them. So they get to be like, but you said there was, and you wanted the TUI immediately read. Like you were like, impasse, give them that one more shot and let's call it a day, because a mistrial is still better than guilty on all counts. A mistrial for the defendant, for their client, for the defendant, in that view. A mistrial for them is still better than guilty. A retrial would probably be less time consuming, less exhausting, less money, a lower cost than appeals and the appeals process, because golly, we know, I mean, maybe not firsthand, but the appeals process is an absolute nightmare. Hey, Ronnie, what's going on? I've missed this too. I know. Life is just so wild right now. And I will have to break some bad news later. I'll do it at the end. I won't ruin it. So yeah, so they're using the defendant's arguments against them and said, look, you did have enough time. You did have enough time. You said they did. It's right there. You said they did. So what's happening now? What do you like? What do you mean, bro? Brother, let me get this. Attorney Yannetti stated, the word exhaustive is the word that I think is operative here. He did. We all heard it. We were there. They're communicating to the court that they've exhausted all manner of compromise, all manner of persuasion, and they're at an impasse. This is a case where the jury has the legal instructions. They've only really asked one question, which was to try to get a report they were not allowed to get. I know that they keep saying like not allowed to get, but like it doesn't exist. So it doesn't exist. It's not that they weren't allowed to get it, like they weren't allowed to get it. True, period. But also it doesn't exist. It's not a thing that is real. Nothing. So they weren't allowed to get it, and also they can't get it, and also no one has it. It wasn't just forgotten. It's so funny. And I think the message has been received that the evidence is closed and they won't be getting anything more. They've been working essentially nonstop over the last 3-4 days. We're approaching a weekend. They didn't come back with this at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. They're at 12 o'clock and they have nowhere to turn. So our position is, this is all a quote. So our position is the jury should be read the Tui Rodriguez model instruction and go from there, which was basically like, hey, there's been a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into this. Give it one more go. Give it one more go. And then let us know how that ends. So our position is the jury should be read the Tui Rodriguez model instruction and go from there. See Commonwealth v. Rodriguez, blah, 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 blah. Instruction is for situations where after due deliberation, the jury has expressed that they are at an impasse. Tui Rodriguez instruction should not be employed prematurely or indiscriminately. It's not a first action to be taken. They've said it twice. what do you want me to do? Like, this is the last thing that we can do, essentially. This is our last ditch effort to get some decision made. The court ruled that given the length of the trial, number of exhibits, and complex issues in this case, okay, there had not been due and thorough deliberations, and instructed the jury to continue deliberating. So when it comes to the complex issues in this case, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, were you watching the same trial I was? Were you? Um, because I don't think you were. Complex my ass. This I The only reason it was complex was because of the Commonwealth making things be more complex than they actually were. Everything that came out of Lely's mouth was complex. Every question Lely asked was complex. E- every storyline that he tried to create was complex. When all of this happened within like a 3-hour time frame, so it was very that made me a little like, yeah, remember? Remember what she called this I was very I was taken aback. It took me a moment to like digest everything. And I was taken aback by the claims of the complexities of this case when in reality it was not that complex. It felt to me pretty straightforward that there were things going on that should not have been going on. There were, the things that were going on that shouldn't have been going on felt very clear to me. It felt very much in the spotlight. So that being said, maybe it did make the case a little more complex, trying to decipher between the issues that law enforcement had when it came to, I don't know, being good at their jobs and following the law versus what actually happened to John O'Keefe. So I guess the complexity there was trying to understand what happened, but also recognizing the other issues. I don't know if anyone else has sort of some stream of ability of understanding the complexity of this case, because it didn't feel that complex. It felt very straightforward. It was a light being shined on these bad law enforcement officials continually acting poorly. So it didn't feel that complex to me. Also, like, not a new thing. That's not new. If it was like, wow, no one's ever done anything like that before, this is very complex, I'd probably get behind it. Um, let's see. Da, 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 da. Where was I? Okay. On Monday, I'm back. On Monday, July 1st, 2024, at approximately 10:45 a.m., the jury sent another note to the court stating, Judge Canoni, despite our commitment to the duty entrusted in us, we find ourselves deeply divided by fundamental differences in our opinions and state of mind. State of mind is weird. Rereading it is making my brain do different things. The divergence in our views are not rooted in a lack of understanding or effort by deeply held convictions that each of us carry. Oh, or effort, but deeply held convictions that each of us carry, ultimately leading to a point where consensus is unattainable. We recognize the weight of this admission and the implications it holds. Following receipt of that note, the court again inquired of the Commonwealth and defendant as to whether there had been due and thorough deliberations. The Commonwealth argued that although the jury had been deliberating for approximately 22 hours, given the length of the trial and number of witnesses, which crock a crock pot of crap. Um, Given the length of the trial and number of witnesses, the jury had yet to engage in thorough deliberations. What do you mean, bro? It's been 22 hours. Attorney Yannetti again sought a Tui Rodriguez instruction stating that the jury has come back twice, indicating essentially that they're hopelessly deadlocked. They said they've been over all the evidence. At this time, they say they have fundamental disagreements about what the evidence means. It's a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of lack of understanding, which kind of makes me say that it is a lack of understanding, because who, nope, we'll say it's a matter of opinion due to different levels of understanding. This is my opinion. These are my words now. These are not Commonwealth words. It is a lack of not coming to a decision on either one, two, all three, lesser included, whatever happened in that jury room. It seemed to me to be a lack of understanding, which led to opinions, which could not be sorted. I mean, which could not be sorted out. Like that's what, like, people were not able to understand everything the same way, which develops different opinions, which means different opinions, differing opinions. I agree, I disagree. I have more weight in this piece of evidence than I do this piece of evidence, and someone else has more weight in this piece of evidence than this piece of evidence. So it's very much I don't know. It's not my job. Like, it's not anyone's position to speculate what happened in the deliberation room. That's not for anyone to even speculate on. It's not for anyone to say a juror was wrong or was bad. That's not for us. Like, jurors are given this thing which takes them away from their life, which takes them away from their job, which takes them away from their day. If so, it fucks with people's schedules, right? It screws up your routine, it screws up your plans, it screws up your energy. You are being told, like, you're basically entering a place where you don't know the case at hand. You don't know if it's a civil suit or a criminal case. You don't know if you're going to be traumatized on a daily basis. You don't know what you're going to have to mentally put yourself through when you're on jury duty. It is your civic duty. You can get like a bench warrant if you don't go to jury duty, right? Like, you have to go to jury duty, and you have to, if chosen to be on jury, you have to sit through this case, and you don't know what's happening. It could potentially be one of the most traumatizing things you ever go through in your entire life. Like, it could be awful. It could be like divorce court with a jury. I don't know. There's so many things that could happen as you walk into this jury room. You don't know. And I think it is so fair to say that not every person is mentally, emotionally, psychologically equipped to be handed a seat on this specific jury, be handed all this evidence, be handed all this testimony, and ingest it in the same exact way of somebody else. That is completely fair to say. And and people are people. People are people. People live different lives. People experience different things. People react to things in different ways, as we saw Karen react to seeing John on the snow. So there's reasons for everything. I'm not here to speculate, but I'm just here to break down these in a non lawyer brain. In a non lawyer brain. Where were we? I lost my space. Okay. The court found that at this point, the jury had engaged in due and thorough deliberations. Noting that this has been an extraordinary jury, the court indicated it had never seen a note like this reporting to be at an impasse. It was written very beautifully. It was the care taken that was put into the note was it was so well written, and it was recognizing that it's more than just people disagree. It's a deeper level of disagreeing. At approximately 11 a.m. on July 1st, 2024, the jury was advised of the full Tui Rodriguez instruction, including that it was the jury's duty to decide this case if you can do if you can do so conscientiously, and that there is no reason to believe another jury would be more competent to decide this case, giving them the push to say, "We got this. We can do this." They're going to have to go through another trial most likely if we don't do this. But there was energy that said yes, there was energy that said no, there was energy that said guilty, there was energy that said not guilty. So it just wasn't going to happen with this jury. On July 1st, 2024, at approximately 2:30 p.m., the jury sent a final note to the court stating, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of charges beyond reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges. All right. So, the deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. Following receipt of that note, the court discharged the jury and declared a mistrial. Grandpa Lally is a complex person. That is for sure. That is for sure. Let me just give me 1 second here. Oh my goodness. That's exciting. Alrighty. What's this? Let me see. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by boys. What is this?
Snow speeder.
A snow speeder from Star Wars?
Yep. Episode 5.
Episode 5. I need to watch Star Wars.
Yep.
I just saw that text message.
That's absurd.
That's crazy. All right. So back to court documents. Sorry, guys. Okay. So what is not mentioned in here? Well, I always forget to turn off those thumbs up things. What's not mentioned here was that before the note was read, it was just like we're in impasse. But he did mention it on what, page 1 or 2. And also, I have yet to hear mention of the jury instructions having to be like reiterated to the jury. Do we remember when the jury, I believe it was during the first note, when there were issues with the jury, the verdict slip, there was issue with jury instructions. There was a rereading of, I don't want to say like a full rereading of jury instructions, but there was a note made to the jury to kind of edit the jury instruction from the judge as well. So there hasn't been mention of that in this. There hasn't been mention of that. The representations made in counsel's affidavits have no legal bearing. Oh, just a straight flip the switch. The representations made in counsel's affidavits have no legal bearing on the mistrial, as the jury did not reach any verdicts. I was behind. Partial or otherwise. I mean, okay. Verdicts must be reported in open court. The only verdict which we oh no okay let's my eyes the only verdict which can be received and regarded as a complete and valid verdict of a jury upon which a judgment can be rendered is an open and public verdict given in and assented to in open court as the unanimous act of the jury and affirmed and entered of record in the presence and under the sanction of the court. Lawrence v. Stearns, etc. See also Commonwealth v. Tobin. The verdict which determines the rights of the parties. These are sort of essential trial moments that set precedents in Massachusetts. That sort of changed and shifted how things, it's the practice of law. Like things are constantly sort of shifting and growing and molding and remolding um and so these are moments like that. So the verdict which determines the rights of the parties and is admitted of record and upon which judgment is rendered is the verdict received from the lips of the foreman in open court. It is not enough to show that the jury may have agreed on some issues at some point. If that limited showing were to control, uncertainties would be invited. No error in the judge's refusal to accept the not guilty verdict slips found in jury deliberation room after the jury was discharged, where those slips were in contradiction of the jury's report to the judge in open court that they were deadlocked. So, okay, basically, if it's read in court, if it happens in the courtroom, the judge says, bring that jury on in. Let's read this verdict slip. What is the verdict? Guilty, not guilty, mistrial, final moments, any dropping of charges. That happens in court. Anything else doesn't matter. Anything else doesn't matter is what the Commonwealth is trying to be like. Look, here is all of the history and reasoning behind why they're wrong and we're right. They're wrong, we're right. I don't care what they got to say. They're wrong. So the hearsay comments and juror statements about what happened are legally irrelevant as the jury failed to reach any verdicts. See Bluford v. Arkansas. I know it's Arkansas. I'm not a dum dum. I just like Arkansas. Why is it Arkansas? If it's spelled, why is it Arkansas? Why is it, if Kansas is Kansas, why is Arkansas not Arkansas? In Bluford, the jury sent a note to the court indicating they were hopelessly deadlocked, and the court asked for the foreperson to disclose the jury's votes on the three charges: first-degree murder, manslaughter, and negligent homicide. The foreperson reported the jury unanimously agreed the defendant was not guilty of murder, but were deadlocked on manslaughter and had not voted on negligent homicide. The court gave the jury an Allen instruction, basically the Tui Rodriguez, just a different word for it. Well, just a different case trial for it. That emphasized the importance of reaching a verdict and instructed the jury to continue deliberations. After a half hour, the jury reported that they had not reached a verdict and a mistrial was declared. 30 minutes is crazy. 30. We haven't even voted on it, but 30 minutes is crazy. The United States Supreme Court rebuffed the defendant's claim that the jury acquitted him of murder, as the foreperson's report was not a final verdict because the jury had continued to deliberate and, more importantly, gave no indication that they were still unanimous on the murder charge. Wild. The United States Supreme Court emphasized that when jurors engage in discussions about the circumstances of the crime, it often causes one to rethink their stance on a greater offense and revisit a prior vote. The very object of the jury system, after all, is to secure a unanimity by a comparison of views and by arguments among the jurors themselves. A single juror's change of mind is all it takes to require the jury to reconsider a greater offense. A single juror's change of mind is all it takes to require the jury to reconsider a greater offense or a lesser offense. A Tui Rodriguez instruction is designed to urge the jury to reach a verdict by giving more serious consideration to opposing points of view. We were there. We know. We were there. It must be recognized as a practical matter that the jury votes on included offenses may be the result of a temporary compromise in an effort to reach unanimity. A jury should not be precluded from reconsidering a previous vote on any issue, and the weight of final adjudication should not be given to any jury action that is not returned in a final verdict. So, if it wasn't the final verdict, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? Y'all sat here and said, we got nothing. We are at an impasse. There was no motion from any juror that it was just on count 2 and the lesser charges. We were at an impasse. There was no raising of hand. There was no, but hold on. There was no call out. There was no note there because in my opinion, the court said, don't tell me nothing unless you got everything, right? She said, don't say anything about where you're at unless it's a completed verdict slipped. It's a completed verdict slip. Don't tell me nothing until you got everything. And it's unanimous. That's what she said. Not verbatim, but that's what she said. And I think that's how at least the majority of those jurors took it. They're like, well, if we can't be unanimous on every single thing, then we can't be unanimous on anything because that's what we were told, right? And so it was probably like that energy of like, but that's what I heard, but that's what I heard, but that's what I heard. And then if you go back to the very beginning of her instructions, it's if the instructions on paper differ from what I say, go with what I say, which I don't like because because the Commonwealth and the defense decided on what was on paper. So if she says something that's not on paper, and what on paper was agreed upon by the Commonwealth and the defense for jury instructions, what's happening? Does that feel weird? That feels weird to me. That feels a little weird to me. So, but I'm also not a lawyer. Asterisk, not a lawyer. But I'm still allowed to have opinions on this. Like I'm still allowed to be and feel and comprehend. It just might be in a completely different way, which I think has a really great like it can be a really great addition to the world of this, of this little corner on the internet, because I'm not coming from it with a background and decades of doing this. What if, like, if I was a juror on this and the court said, there's no final decision until there's a completed final decision. Got it. Check for nothing. Because we don't have a completed final decision on everything. That's probably how I would have. Knowing me, I probably would be like, let's ask a question, but I can see how it would end up this way with those words being said, and with how careful this jury was. They were there. They were mindful. They were listening. They were taking notes. They showed up. They suffered. They wanted to get this done. This is it's happening. It's happening. Okay. Did I read that? Probably. The jury's notes. Let's just go to the next one. We're on to the next. I don't know where it was. The jury's notes were unambiguous that the jurors were deeply divided by fundamental differences in our opinions and state of mind that resulted in a starkly divided jury. As to the charges, emphasis on plural. Okay, sass. And snark. Emphasis on plural. And we already talked about it. Was it 1, 2, and 3, or was it the multiple lesser included in number 2? That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. But Lally has this fantastic opportunity to be like, she said charges, emphasis on plural. Take that opportunity. The jury consistently indicated that their impasse was not due to a lack of understanding of the law or the charges, but a profound divergence in deeply held convictions, ultimately leading to a point where consensus is unattainable. The jury's notes did not indicate agreement or acquittal on any of the charges. Rather, it was evident that the jury was unable to agree on any charges due to their sincere adherence to their individual principles and moral convictions. All right. Contrary to representations made in the defendant's motions and supporting affidavits, the defendant advocated for and consented to a mistrial as she had adequate opportunities to object and instead remained silent, which removes any double jeopardy bar to retrial. Basically, you didn't say nothing, so your silence is acceptance. Which is not, I don't he can do it. He said it. He said it. He can say it. That's how he can comprehend it. I think Lely is rip roaring ready to go for trial number 2. I think he's like, all right, we had our warm up. God, golly. Lely, don't do it to us again. Don't do it, Lely. Da 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 da. Um, let's carry on. It's just more of that. All right, next paragraph. You guys can't see all of it. During her full opportunities to be heard on June 28th, 2024 and July 1st, 2024, at no time did any of the defendants' 3 counsels, all right, just because you felt like you had to take this all on yourself. You had help, Lally. You just bored them to submission. At no time did any of the defendants' 3 counsels request inquiry as to what charge or charges the jury was deadlocked on. Probably because it's a little that seems to be um slightly inappropriate at the time. You would think that would directly come from the judge. Like that would be a court issue that you would expect. I know assumptions make an ass out of you and me, but I feel like if you were a lawyer, that would be, especially in a mistrial situation, that would be a court situation that they would do the inquiring of. I don't feel like it's completely appropriate for a lawyer to be like, I want to know how, because it feels like, tell me how it was split. But I don't know. Maybe they do. I'm sure that they had r- I'm sure it would have been a reasonable request if they felt like the court wasn't going to make that request themselves. Uh should they have made that request? I think so. I do think so. Lally, you got me there. I do agree with you. I do think that they should have made that request. Hindsight 2020. Lally's probably like, wow, I did talk about the weather a lot, didn't I? I probably won't do that on trial too. Um, okay, so rather the defendant was quick to request a 2A Rodriguez instruction at first opportunity, indicating, well, okay, hold on. Let's do this again. During her full opportunities to be heard on June 28th and July 1st, at no time did any of the defendant's 3 counsels request inquiry as to what charge or charges the jury was deadlocked on. Okay, so going back to the June 28th moment, yeah, I don't think that would be appropriate at all, in my opinion, of not being a lawyer. I don't think that would have been appropriate at all because it wasn't like we're calling a mistrial. I don't think it would have been appropriate at all there. The last time the final we're at an impasse after the Tui Rodriguez, I think it probably would have been a little more appropriate to be like, so how are we split? after a mistrial was called, because you're taking quite a risk, right? It's extremely risky on the 28th. What? Hi, action, activity. What's going on here? It is extremely risky on the 28th. It's a little less risky after mistrial's already been called. Declared. I do declare. Rather, the defendant was quick to request a Tui Rodriguez instruction at first opportunity, indicating a belief based on the clear and obvious language of the jury's notes that, as stated by attorney Yannetti, the jury was hopelessly deadlocked, had exhausted all manner of compromise, and was engaged in fundamental disagreements of what the evidence means. It's a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of understanding. We've already gone through that. See also timing of the Tui Rodriguez charge. Blah, 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 blah. Furthermore, following the discharge of the jury, the court engaged the Commonwealth and defendant in discussions about choosing excuse me a sad estate for scheduling a retrial. At no time during that hearing the defendant object or indicate displeasure with the mistrial. What? Lolly, what? A sad estate for scheduling a trial. At no time during that hearing did the defendant object or indicate displeasure with the mistrial. What are you supposed to say? I don't like what you did. What do you want them to say? What are they supposed to say? What were they supposed what and when he says defendant, he's speaking to about lawyers, not speaking up. Karen wasn't supposed to be like, I'm mad about this. Could you imagine if she stood up and was like, rude, don't like that. I don't like how that happened. That's not what I wanted. Um, excuse me, that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not guilty. No, the speaking about lawyers, not speaking up. Um, they were very quiet, but what were they supposed to like? It's not going to change the mistrial being declared. It's not going to change that the jury has already left the room. They're free to go. That's not going to change that. So what did you want them to say, Lolly? What were you expecting them to say? I guess is what I want to know. The mistrial was also supported by a manifest necessity. Jury deadlock, see Commonwealth v. Bryan. In considering whether to declare mistrial over defendant's objection, the court must give counsel a full opportunity to be heard and careful consideration to alternatives to a mistrial. A frequent and traditional example of manifest necessity to declare a mistrial is where the jury were discharged because they were unable to come to an agreement on a verdict. Thames v. Commonwealth. Okay, blah, 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 blah. More stuff. The trial judge is best situated to determine whether the ends of substantial justice cannot be attained without discontinuing the trial. Okay. In declaring a mistrial, premised upon the trial judge's belief that the jury is unable to reach a verdict, that decision is treated with great deference, because otherwise there would be a danger that the judge would employ coercive means to break the apparent deadlock. Yes, the judge can't be like, you sure? You don't want to go with guilty? You sure you don't want to just go with guilty? So it's like, I don't want to do this again. Okay, the court engaged in considerable efforts and sent the jury back to deliberate 2 times following notes that they were, and emphasis is very much kissing the judge's butt, right? This is very much like, but Judge Canoni did a great job, right? She did exactly what she needed to do. She followed all the rules. Everything was great, and it's mistrial. Thank you. Have a good day. Like it's very because for the Commonwealth as well. The best outcome for them would have been guilty on all charges, sure, but a mistrial is much better for them than not guilty, because mistrial gives you another opportunity, gives you more chances. Not guilty Not guilty is not guilty. What they can't do nothing about that. So again, for both sides, it's not the best, but it's better than the worst. During deliberations, the court amended the verdict slip to depict clearly the lesser included offenses and provided the jury a supplemental instruction on how to consider lesser included offenses. See Bluford. Oh, they love this Bluford. The United States Supreme Court has never required a trial court before declaring a mistrial because of a hung jury to consider any particular means of breaking the impasse, let alone to consider giving the jury new options for a verdict. So you can't like change the charges. The defendant's claim that the judge should have inquired of the jury holds no merit, as nothing in our case law or in this letters and numbers require the judge to make either inquiry, whether there was reasonable probability of any unanimous verdicts or if the jury would consent to further deliberations. As a matter of course, and the circumstances before the judge did not necessitate either inquiry. The final note from the foreperson unequivocally, I love that word, it's such a great word, unequivocally stated that the jury were unable to come to a unanimous decision. In other words, that the jury were deadlocked. The note did not suggest, for example, that the jury were merely having trouble making a decision or needed further instructions from the judge. Boy, Lolly's like 3 pages? Absolutely not. Make it 7. Given the 4 days of deliberations, the jury's indication that they had carefully reviewed all the evidence and that their divergent opinions were premised upon deeply held moral convictions, the court was left with no reasonable alternative other than to declare a mistrial. The court had nothing else. They couldn't do anything else. What was Judge Canoni supposed to do? There was nothing else that she could do. She did it all, and it was great, and we love it. It looks like the internet's having a moment. Further consultation with counsel would not have produced any fruitful alternatives, nor was there a reasonable probability the jury would have consented to deliberate further, particularly when the jury wrote, "To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs." It looks like the internet is having a moment. So that's that. So we'll just get it. There we go. Moreover, whether counsel initiates contact with a discharged jury. Okay, we're gonna get to some finger pointing, I believe. Moreover, whether counsel initiates contact with a discharged juror by first sending notice to the opposing party with the substance of the proposed communication, or if the juror initiates contact with counsel, as alleged in the defendant's motion, counsel may communicate with jurors only about permissible subjects. So the Lolly is basically reminding everyone, like, if you're going to contact someone, we need to know too. Also, if they contact you, you know what you're supposed to be talking about, and you know what you're not supposed to be talking about. Permissible subjects include counsel's performance during the trial, extraneous influence on the jury's deliberation, or a juror's bias towards a defendant. Neither extraneous influence nor a claim of juror bias is alleged by the defendant to have been an issue. Even in circumstances where juror testimony is needed to ascertain whether there was racial or ethnic bias or extrajudicial influence, a judge may not inquire into the jury's subjective thought processes, content of deliberations, or reasons for concluding guilt or acquittal. Obviously, the conversations in the jury room, in the deliberation room, are off the table. Like, you can't even think of, like, you're not even supposed to think about asking them that, right? How you got there is not a question. The number you can what's the number of split? That's a perfectly fine question to ask if if you want to. But you can't say, why were you split? What about why were they, what was the argument from each side? That's completely inappropriate. The deliberation room is sacred and private, and the only people that know what happened in that room were the people in the room. And you don't have any right to know. You don't have any right to know what was in the room. Popping in from Oakland, keep crushing it. Gotta bounce. And Mashav, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Be good. Be safe out there. Enjoy. Good weather. Wear your sunscreen. Wear your sunscreen. If you come back with a sunburn, I'm gonna say told you so. Um told you so. Have a good one. Thanks for popping in. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 boop, boop, boop. Rather, what the defendant's motion is, right. Rather, what the defendant's motion is entirely premised upon and what is expressly prohibited. Inquiry is that of the jury's deliberative processes and the substance of the jury's deliberations. You can't do that. Are we saying page 50? I didn't even see 15 down there. Okay. The secrecy of jury deliberations has served. We might just like skedaddle through all of this because, golly, we get it. Jury deliberations have served as a bedrock of our judicial system. An inquiry into the jury's deliberative processes would intrude improperly into the jury's function, the common law principle that it is essential to the freedom and independence of jury deliberations that their discussions in the jury room should be kept secret and inviolable was not and arguably could not be overruled by etc. It is improper for counsel to inquire with jurors or through intermediaries cute the individual or collective thought processes of the jury, the reasons for the decision, or the substance of their deliberations. Yes, we get it, Lally. Ugh. Similarly, it would be improper for the court to inquire through affidavits or an evidentiary hearing the substance of the jury's deliberations. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. We just want to know if it was true. 1 and 3 not guilty. That's all we want to know. That's all we want to know, and then go from there. I should have had breakfast today because I am so hungry. My computer is gonna die. I have my charger. I just don't want to get it. Okay. If after communicating with the juror, an attorney wishes to secure an affidavit from the juror, any such affidavit must focus on extraneous influences and not the substance of the juror. Yes, we get it, Lolly. We get it. We're moving on because he makes, even in paper, he makes me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. He probably didn't even write this. He probably just read it over and, and signed it. He's probably like, wait, change this comma. The Supreme Judicial Court has instructed that whenever a judge asks individual jurors about the possibility of extraneous influences on jury deliberations, whether of jurors who are still sitting as such or jurors who have been discharged, the purpose of the individual voir dire is not to delve into the jury's deliberations. There should not be an inquiry into a juror's individual or the jury's too big maybe collective thought process. Duh. Likewise, polling the jury on the various possible verdicts during their deliberations or after their discharge would constitute an unwarranted and unwise intrusion into the province of the jury, and the Supreme Judicial Court has cautioned strongly against the risk of coercion inherent in questioning jurors, particularly in individual colloquies. Okay. One cannot assume from the mere report of deadlock that there is any final verdict lurking within that deadlock that may be extracted. In many instances, asking a deadlocked jury about partial verdicts would constitute attempting to extract from the jury something that does not exist. Asking a jury to report where they stand on the offense as charged invites a report that may be based on only preliminary tentative deliberation, if any, on that level of offense, or hasty resumption of deliberations concerning that level of offense in an effort to satisfy the judge's apparent desire for a decision. Such inquiries of the jury may succeed in extracting a partial verdict, but we could not have confidence that that partial verdict was the product of a thoughtful and thorough deliberation process. The risks of juror coercion are too high, and the reliability of any such partial verdict returned is too low to warrant such an approach to salvaging some partial result from a deadlocked jury. Agree and disagree. We have more than just a deadlocked jury. We have multiple jurors coming forward with not just how they how their deliberations concluded, um, that we'll see more of today. Similarly, even if the deadlock, after this, I'm going to need to go get a drink and put my charger in just so you guys know. Similarly, even if the deadlock does pertain to some distinction between the various levels of an offense, a judge has no way of knowing whether the jury have in fact fully considered the offense as charged. A desire to extract information from a deadlocked jury does not solve the significant problems in attempting to do so. A court's inquiry into possible verdicts improperly intrudes on the jury's function, and the ostensible benefits to be gained by such a procedure are outweighed by its risks. I have the feeling that that Judge Canoni would disagree with that per this situation. For she would be like, I hear you, I understand. We have a little bit of a different situation here, folks. We have a little bit of things are happening in a strange way, so we have to go about this in a different way. She probably wouldn't say it like that. There'd be a lot more sighs. Ugh, she's Judge Canoni as a staple piece of this trial. The judge of this trial um was such a fantastic character. Her personality, i I don't even like have the words to describe like her constant, her sighs, her deep breaths, her tone that she spoke many a time to all of the lawyers. It was so interesting to me. Do I think she's a bad judge? No. Do I think that there are outrageous things happening and being said online about her that are completely inappropriate? Yes, there's too much happening online. Um Too many claims, too much energy towards in negative ways towards this judge. Yes, I think that, are there ways that she could have presented herself differently? Sure. But I am not judging. Like, I not judge. You we watched the trial. It was streamed. We are able to have like a reaction to the person that we watched. Do I think that taking that reaction and making your opinion super duper strong, like you don't know this person, you'll never meet this person, uh is it more important to try to understand the process than the specific person? Yes, in my opinion. Do you feel that it's necessary to take to the internet to proclaim some sort of like negative hatred and claims against a judge that you don't like, from a state that you don't even live in? Don't do that. That is bonkers. That is absolutely inappropriate. I am not a lawyer. I say it a lot. It's part of every title. I'm reading legal documents. I'm not a lawyer. Um, but the last thing that want to even like be seen as is someone who's like, you're not trying to learn the process. You're not trying to experience this as a normal human being that who has never worked in any legal setting whatsoever. But you're making all these, like, I'm just reading this and reacting with my brain. I'm not, but I don't want, if it does ever feel or sound like I'm um wanting to like cause harm to anybody, I'm not. I don't want that. That's the last thing that I want. I want to understand more. I want to read and watch and take in, because God knows anyone could be in this position, right? This is interesting to my brain. I am not trying to say Lally is a terrible person because I didn't think he did a good job in this trial. I'm saying I don't think he did a good job in this trial. And that's all that I know about this stranger. That's all that I know. He made me sleepy. I'm pretty sure he made Judge Canoni sleepy. But that's it. That has no underlying um meaning at all. I don't know him. I'll never meet the man. If I saw, okay, to be fair, if I saw that man in a Walmart, I wouldn't I wouldn't know it was him, because that's that's how little that's how little he is inside of my brain, because I don't see I've seen that man on a screen. I would say a few times, I wouldn't say a lot, because yes, it was a long trial. I've heard the man's voice. I'd probably recognize the voice before the face, because to me, it's just another person, and I'm going shopping. Like, the moment I'm not looking at this, I'm not thinking about it. I'll pop on, I'll read a little bit of this, I'll read a bit of this, but the moment it's off, I'm back to, I don't know, playing Pokemon Go, playing with my little kitty cat, actual human cat, no human cat, actual cat, not you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people right now that are taking all of this to heart, and reacting in very extreme ways. And I want to make sure that you guys are not doing that. Which I know that people are here are not, but also that I am not doing that. I am not part of that. So I just wanted to make that clear before we finish this. Um I absolutely have to go back and rewatch the last half hour. I had to unpack the car. I'm back. Also, love that time. Oh my god, thank you. It's like a billion years old, and I was just like, I don't have anything else to wear. I need to do laundry. Um, let's just continue. Okay, we're almost done. Great. For the foregoing reasons, the defendant's motion should be denied. I love that it's capital and underlined, as there was no verdict that acquits. Yay, that's good. That acquits the defendant. No grounds for the court or counsel to inquire into the deliberative process of a discharge to jury. The defendant consented to the mistrial. No, she didn't. No, not really. She didn't not consent, but I don't think silence is necessarily consent. Um, and the court properly declared a mistrial due to a deadlocked jury who was at an impasse due to their starkly divided perspectives on the evidence and their sincere adherence, individual principles, and moral convictions. As such, retrial is not barred by double jeopardy or constitutional principles, and the Commonwealth may retry the defendant on the three indictments and any appropriate lesser included offenses. Respectfully submitted for the Commonwealth. Michael W. Morrissey, District Attorney. Um, Adam Lally, McLaughlin. What's her name? Laura McLaughlin. Cute. That's a Laura. Laura A. McLaughlin. That's cute. That's a cute name. Um, that's a cute. Okay, so there we go. There we have it. There we have it, folks. Lally. That was from the Commonwealth. That was their statement. There has been motion, affidavit, supplemental, like there's been so much activity from the defense, so the Commonwealth had to like get it in, and they did their thing. And where we go from here, well, I'm going to grab the next thing that happened, which I hope is only a couple of pages. Very wordy, we aren't surprised. Very wordy, we aren't surprised. Touch the points multiple times. um Absolutely. Very wordy. No surprise there. Very lally. Very lally. Um, I'm going to pull this up, and I'm just going to run, go get a drink, plug my computer in, and I will be immediately right back. So just give me like literally 2 seconds. That's not more than 2 seconds. I need like hold music. I need hold music. I'm also just going to play this one more time before we get into it. Cool. I just love that so much. I need to make more things. I need to get like little hold music for when I need to go get a drink and I didn't bring one, even though I knew I should have. Okay. I also ate a Skittle. Thank you. That makes me so happy. That's like the best compliment I can ever have. Thank you so much. I really love it. And thank you to Motion Array for giving me the ability to make it. Motion Array is fantastic if you are into editing. I love Motion Array so much. So much. All right, are we ready to read Karen Reed's reply to the Commonwealth's opposition to her motion to dismiss? I think we're ready. I know I am. I think it's only a couple of pages because Lally did not write this. Now comes the defendant, Karen Reed. I love it. Now comes Mr. Lally. Now comes Karen Reed. By and through undersigned counsel, and hereby respectfully submits this reply to the Commonwealth's opposition to her motion to dismiss. Now that my voice is warmed up, the Commonwealth's opposition is perhaps most notable for what it does not dispute. That according to information from 4 deliberating jurors, the jury had reached a unanimous decision that Miss Reed is not guilty on 2 of the 3 charges pending against her. This is so catty, right? Like it just feels like, okay, well, actually, what you didn't even say is that 4 jurors came out and said not guilty. So what is it? It feels very like kindergarten, like playground argument. It's like, no, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Like it gives that energy, which I'm here for. But this is a very serious thing. But I think we can still find the joy and funny moments in it as well. I think that's a very healthy thing for people to do. Where was I? Okay. Let's just start again. The Commonwealth's opposition is perhaps most notable for what it does not dispute. That, according to information from 4 deliberating jurors, the jury had reached a unanimous decision that Miss Reed is not guilty on 2 of the 3 charges pending against her, namely counts 1 and 3. Remember when we talked about that? That's so crazy. The Commonwealth's insistence that Miss Reed must nonetheless be forced to run the gauntlet. Gauntlet? Run the gauntlet? Surgeons ever run the gauntlet? Is it run the gauntlet or run the gauntlet? Both senses of gauntlet had the variant spelling gauntlet. For the punishment, the spelling gauntlet is preferred in American English usage guides. But oh my God. Because we always say run the gauntlet, but it's gauntlet also. Okay, learning something new every day. Um, Forced to be run the gauntlet once more is based on several clear fallacies. You're wrong. First, it's so funny. First, while the defense was given an opportunity to be heard on other issues arising during jury deliberations, i.e., the appropriateness of a Tui Rodriguez instruction, the defense was provided no opportunity to be heard regarding the declaration of a mistrial. Because remember, we did go over it. They're at an impasse, bring the jury in, then she reads the letter, a mistrial is being declared. Rather, upon receiving the final jury note, the court, sua sponte, declared a mistrial with no warning to or solicitation of objections from the parties. Both of us, we both didn't get a say in this. Second, the jury's note did not explicitly indicate an impasse on all charges. Explicit my ass. Opposition at one. To the contrary, it was readily susceptible to the interpretation proven correct based on information received post trial from deliberating jurors. Oops, I think I went too big. Maybe not. That the deadlock applied only to the multiple offenses included within count two and not to count 1 and 3. So, the defense's argument charges counts 1, the lesser included, not 1, 2, and 3. Third and finally, the defense respectfully submits that neither the Commonwealth nor the court carefully considered alternatives before declaring a mistrial. I haven't read this one yet either. ID, the record reflects no discussion of any such alternatives, including, importantly, inquiry regarding whether the jury had reached an impasse on all, as contrasted to just some of the counts. It was not asked. The judge, no one, had the opportunity to say, what are you at an impasse on? 1, 2, and the lesser included, or 3, before a mistrial was called. The underlying idea of the constitutional protection against double jeopardy, one that is deeply ingrained in at least the Anglo-American system of jurisprudence, is that the state with all its resources and power should not be allowed to make repeated attempts to convict an individual for an alleged offense. Even if the first trial is not completed, a second prosecution may be grossly unfair. It increases the financial this it increases the financial and emotional burden on the accused, prolongs the period in which she, in this case, is stigmatized by an unresolved accusation of wrongdoing, and may even enhance the risk that an innocent defendant may be convicted. Consequently, as a general rule, the prosecutor is entitled to one and only one opportunity to require an accused to stand trial. Very, very strong words, right? The financial and emotional burden, very true. The amount of money that this is costing Karen Reed, I couldn't even guess. If I guessed, I would be low. If I guessed, whatever number I guessed would be probably low. Um, I could only imagine the price of these lawyers. I could only imagine the cost of Mr. Yannetti. I can't even imagine how much it costs to have Alan Jackson. I couldn't even imagine the cost it would be to have Alan Jackson defend you. Couldn't even imagine. That man, that man has worked with some of the richest people that you could even think of. Right? So what do you mean? What do you mean? Worth it if she's being falsely accused. Worth it if she's being falsely accused. Yeah. So and that's where it's all very much like there are two sides to every coin and there are two sides to every argument. There's two sides to every argument. There are pros and cons to each side. So yeah. 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 To be fair, Karen Reed has had a lot of support throughout this entire process. She has had financial support from GoFundMe's. She has had emotional support from many, 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 many people. Maybe not personally emotional support, but it is recognizable that there are people rooting for her, cheering her on, understanding the evidence also who are not on the jury. So I think that is very detrimental. That's detrimental. I was going to say very detrimental, just say detrimental. That is detrimental to the continuation of this process in either way, for specifically Karen, but generally anyone. I could only imagine. Let's just stick to this case with my brain. I could only imagine the the mental decline, the mental health decline that could easily happen to Karen if eyeballs weren't drawn to her case. I mean, there's trials happen every day. People are in trial for uh, first degree, second degree, third degree manslaughter. Like, the people are in trial for that every day, but they don't have the same eyeballs as this case, and many of these cases that are streamed and talked about for hours and hours and hours in a day. So I could only imagine how much this could really tear a person down, knowing allegedly knowing that you're not guilty. You didn't do this. You're spending all this money, and no one is standing outside the courtroom. No one's tweeting about you. No one's talking about you. No one's posting about you. No one's hashtag Karen Reed free, Karen Reed not guilty. That's not happening. You are on your own. I'm glad that she has family. I'm glad that she has close friends. I'm glad that she has that. I, 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 but with all of that support, two sides of the coin, comes all of the opposing energy. So, oh my gosh. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Probably not. But that's just, it's too much. 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 Okay, where were we? At the heart. Okay. Thus, whether the jury acquitted Miss Reed or alternatively was merely not deadlocked on the relevant counts, the Constitution compels the same result: dismissal. Given the unambiguous post-trial evidence, it would simply be wrong to require the defendant to obtain two acquittals from two different juries for the same crime. They're sticking with she was acquitted, she was found not guilty on counts 1 and counts 3. What are you talking about, Commonwealth? Like, that's the energy that they're giving. The Commonwealth's leading argument is rooted in pure formalism, that no verdict was entered on the record in court. See opposition at 5. But precisely this formalistic mode of analysis has been consistently rejected by the United States Supreme Court and Supreme Judicial Court in a string of precedents spanning more than 100 years. Bell v. United States, the reception of the verdict and discharge of the jury is but a ministerial act involving no judicial discretion. However, it may be in England, in this country, a verdict of acquittal, although not followed by any judgment, is a bar to a subsequent prosecution for the same offense. Hudson v. Louisiana, holding that the judicial grant of new trial prohibited retrial on double jeopardy grounds, notwithstanding that the state code of criminal procedure did not authorize trial judges to enter judgments of acquittal in jury trials. Indeed, the prohibition against double jeopardy was plainly intended to condemn the abhorrent practice of English judges exercising a power to discharge a jury whenever it appeared that the Crown's evidence would be insufficient to convict. We're going way back. Let's go way back. But that's fine. If it still stands, it still stands. The Commonwealth's heavy reliance upon Bluford v. Arkansas fails for reasons set forth in the defense's opening motion. See motion at 6. In this case, after the foreperson, can you hear my tummy grumbling? In this case, after the foreperson reported that the jury was unanimous against conviction on certain charges, the jury was sent back to continue deliberations. The foreperson's report was not a final resolution of anything, and there was no indication at the conclusion of deliberations that where are you? It was still the case that all 12 jurors believed the defendant was not guilty of capital or first degree murder. Here, by contrast, 4 deliberating jurors attest that there was a final unanimous agreement that Miss Reed is not guilty of second degree murder, persisting through the conclusion of deliberations. Let me just zoom in just a little bit more. According to one such juror, Juror D, after the jury was excused and aboard the bus, many of the jurors appeared uncomfortable with how things ended, wondering, is anyone going to know that we acquitted Karen Reed on count 1 and 3? Ellen Jackson supplemental. That was from it. Most importantly, unlike Bluford, this was not a case where the defendant was charged in a single count, which incorporated lesser included offenses. Indeed, the Arkansas law at issue in Bluford did not even permit the jury to return partial verdicts of acquittal. Here, by contrast, the defendant was charged with 3 standalone counts, and state law expressly allowed for partial verdicts on any charges with respect to which the jury was agreed. That was not verbalized by Judge Cannoni properly in a way that was understandable to the jury, is how my brain is saying. Only if the jury, in fact, was deadlocked on all 3 should a mistrial on all 3 be declared. And any other result would require either a verdict if a unanimous one had been reached, as the affidavits in this case reflect, or at minimum, further deliberations. There's no way they could deliberate anymore because they are in this IRL. The lack of manifest necessity to support a mistrial provides a second independent basis for dismissal. While there is no doubt that a jury deadlock may constitute manifest necessity, the Commonwealth unsurprisingly cites no support for its contention that a deadlock on some, but not all separately indicted charges supports declaration of a mistrial with respect to all counts. Contrary to the Commonwealth's characterization, why did I say characterization? Characterization as unambiguous, opposition at 7. The jury note at issue here was facially susceptible to 2 alternative interpretations. Breaking it down. Charges, is it all or is it the lesser included? 1, that the jury had reached an impasse as to all charges, or 2, that the deadlock applied to only some of those charges, e.g. on multiple lesser included allegations within a single count, such as count 2. We saw the slip. Who knows? The jury. That's who knows. The information received from jurors post-trial proves the latter interpretation was correct. The jury's failure to expressly mention its agreement on counts 1 and 3 is understandable in light of the court's instruction that it should continue deliberating until it had reached a final verdict on each charge. Given that there was no deadlock on 2 of the 3 counts, it follows that there was no manifest necessity to dismiss the jury without receiving its verdict on those 2 charges. The defense does not suggest that the court was required to give the jury new options for a verdict, only that it should have asked the straightforward question of which of the separate indictments the professed deadlock related to. So the defense is like, hey, this all probably could have been avoided if you just asked them what's the number and counts that you're deadlocked on, just like poll the jury for each count so you can get an idea of what the hell's going on. But she said, don't tell me nothing until it's all done. In essence, the Commonwealth's contrary position asks this court to close its eyes to the possible, or even, as here very likely, existence of partial unanimous verdicts on some, so dramatic, but not all, separately charged counts to avoid the risks of juror coercion. The Commonwealth utterly fails to acknowledge that Roth, Bluford, and a juvenile are all clearly, those are all case law that they cited, are all clearly distinguishable because they all arose in the context of lesser included offenses contained within a single charge. The Roth court's concern about coercion makes sense in that context. When the jury reports a deadlock on one charge, follow-up questioning regarding the possibility of reaching a verdict on a lesser included offense would imply that the jury should consider conviction on that lesser offense. But this logic does not extend to the present circumstances, and no existing precedent cited by the Commonwealth requires judges to disregard the possibility of partial verdicts when the verdicts would be on standalone, separate charges, such as those in the current indictments. I think that's fantastic. And like it only took a paragraph for the defense to be like, wrong, wrong, wrong. You are wrong. When it took Lally 15 pages to be like, can I speak? I'm just saying. Um, it is very clear that the defense team and the Commonwealth have very different levels of communication when it comes to like being concise and being clear and straight line, point A to B to C to D to E to get all the way to F, instead of point A to F, let's go back to B. Did you hear about D? How was the weather at C? So like it's very clear. It is so clear. Like you cannot, if you handed me these documents without anything and said uh which one was written by Lally, without like pertaining to any like, oh, Commonwealth this or Commonwealth that, I would be like, well, I think it's very clear that I need to eat a Skittle. All right. Let's see where we're at because we got to get through these. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is all case law. Okay, there's simply nothing coercive about asking a jury reporting a deadlock that fails to specify which counts the deadlock relates to. The single question of whether its deadlock is on certain but not all counts, and if it has reached a unanimous verdict on any counts. Fair. Affirming trial judges taking of partial verdicts on 2 of 4 separate indictments and observing to conclude that the jury could have felt pressure to convert provisional verdicts against the defendant into final ones and to abandon all doubts that they may have privately entertained runs counter to the clear instructions of the jury and amounts to mere speculation without any support in the record. Okay. The inflexible prohibition on judicial inquiry regarding partial verdicts advocated by the Commonwealth would inevitably undermine defendants' important and constitutionally protected interest in being able, once and for all, to conclude their confrontations with society through the verdict of a tribunal they might believe to be favorably disposed to their fate. And the danger of unfairness to the defendant from multiple prosecutions exists when a trial is aborted before it is completed. As well as the defendant is actually acquitted. The Commonwealth's proposed rule would also undoubtedly hinder law enforcement interests by precluding courts from asking whether a jury may have reached a guilty verdict on some but not all standalone counts. Okay. So the Commonwealth's attempt to shift blame to the defense overlooks the black letter rule that the prosecution alone bears the heavy burden of establishing manifest necessity for a mistrial. The defense's request for a Tui Rodriguez instruction did not, of course, reflect any implicit concession that the jury was deadlocked on all counts, nor did it commit the defense to any position regarding whether the court should sua sponte declare a mistrial. So a discussion with counsel, such as that occurring twice earlier in response to jury notes and either the consent of the defendant to a mistrial or further judicial inquiry of the jury instead, was required. Each note was read. What do you gotta say? 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 We're going with this. Send the jury in. We're going with this. Send the jury out. We get a note. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? We're going with this. Bring the jury in. There was always Judge Canoni always gave the time to chat. This last one, it was, we are at an impasse. Mistrial. Okay. Where were I? It is indisputable that the court provided no opportunity for defense counsel to be heard regarding the declaration of a mistrial. In short, mere silence, absent an opportunity to object, does not amount to consent. The cases relied upon by the Commonwealth are readily distinguishable on the basis or even support the defense position. It's crazy. That's so crazy to say. The trial judge did not ask defense counsel to comment on the possible declaration of a mistrial. The lack of an objection from defense counsel cannot be construed as consent, etc., etc. Basically, so you guys just going to write our arguments for us. Let's go on to page 8. In only one case cited by the Commonwealth, Fuentes v. Commonwealth 448, Massachusetts, 2007, was the defense, as in the present case, afforded no opportunity to be heard before a mistrial was declared. But there, the Commonwealth fails to mention the crucial fact that the jury's note preceding the declaration of a mistrial expressly stated that the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict as to either of the two indictments. In those circumstances, while the more prudent course would have been to consult with counsel, the record did not show that such consultation would have produced any fruitful alternatives. Here, the opposite is true. The note did not expressly state that the deadlock applied to all counts, and it is patently clear that the affidavit submitted in support of the defense motion that consultation with counsel may well have produced a fruitful alternative, namely inquiry regarding whether the jury had reached a unanimous verdict on any of the three counts, which according to the information from jurors A, B, intermediary, I'm plugging in C and D, would have resulted in acquittals on count 1 and 3. In any event, Fuentes did not alter the court's clear obligations repeatedly reaffirmed since that decision before declaring a mistrial. 1, counsel must have been given full opportunity to be heard, and 2, the trial judge must have given careful consideration to alternatives to a mistrial. The Commonwealth cites no support for its suggestion that an attorney who receives a call post-trial stating that the jury had acquitted his or her client must simply hang up the phone and not act upon that information. Ooh, getting spicy here. The jury's agreement that Miss Reed is not guilty on counts 1 and 3 reflects the results of its deliberative process. Motion at 4, blah, 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 citation omitted. Not the contents of jury deliberations or thought processes of jurors. All right, let's go on to what I believe to be the last page, 9. Remarking that trial judge was rightly loath to examine the entire panel to attempt to determine the impact of the errant judge on the rest of the jury. The defense is not relying upon jurors to attest to any particular statement made or incident that occurred during the jury's deliberations, the effect of anything on any juror's vote or any juror's mental processes concerning a verdict. Rather, the defense is trying. Oh my gosh, I wanted to say other things that weren't there. Rather, the defense is relying upon the simple fact of the jury's agreement that Miss Reed is not guilty on the relevant counts. The permissible subjects of juror contact listed by the Commonwealth are not exclusive, and the Commonwealth fails to cite any authority establishing that the fact of a jury verdict constitutes a prohibited subject matter rule under Rule 3.5c. At the same time that the Commonwealth criticizes the defense for purportedly infringing upon the jury's deliberative process, it also paradoxically faults the defense for reliance on hearsay. But the affidavit by counsel in Commonwealth v. McCallop, attesting to alleged juror bias, was no less hearsay, and the Supreme Judicial Court squarely held that it entitled the defendant to further inquiry on the subject. The defense submits that the same result is warranted here. For all of the reasons set forth above, as well as in its opening motion, supplemental memorandum, and attached affidavits, the defense respectfully requests that this honorable court issue an order dismissing counts 1 and 3. Respectfully submitted for the defendant, Karen Reed, by her attorneys. So that is the defense's response to the Commonwealth's response to the defense's motion to dismiss. And I think that's fantastic. It 9 pages, so about half. So about half, half the amount of pages. But they've also been talking a bunch. They've had a lot to say. All right. Let's see here. This came out, and I don't know. So apparently, it was noted that Judge Beverly Cannoni will not be sitting for the trial assignment conference on the 22nd. This could be many things. But who's counting? This could be many things. It could be a mistake. It could be true. It could just be a schedule said, no, I won't. Just kidding. Yes, I am. It could have been updated. I don't know. This, to me, unless the conference, the hearing starts and Judge Bev isn't there, I don't know. I'm not really invested in that. It's not about the judge. It's about getting the things done. And do we think, in my opinion, I think the itinerary of the hearing is going to be derailed fairly quickly due to all of the activity that has occurred lately. That's my opinion. So Judge Bev or not, things got to get done. Things got to get sorted out, right? I don't care who the judge is. It could have just been a scheduling mistake that someone wrote down wrong. That judge may have a very same hearing happening as well that day. Like, who knows? I don't know. I don't know nothing about that. Okay. I have a feeling that Judge Bev is not going anywhere. I have a feeling that she's going to see this through to the end. So, all right, let's move on to the next one because we got documents, baby. We got documents. Okay, Commonwealth v. Karen Reed, findings and order on Juror Doe's emergency motion to extend July 8th, 2024 impoundment order. Okay. This is a completely different vibe, so let's read through and we shall talk. This matter came before the court on the emergency motion of Juror Doe. So this is a random juror. We don't know if this is Juror A, Juror B, Juror from Intermediary C, Juror from Intermediary D. We don't know who this is. This juror is not naming themselves in this, obviously, for the reason we will continue to talk about. So this is a juror from the case. This matter came before the court on the emergency motion, what is happening, um, of Juror Doe to extend the July 8th, 2024 impoundment order entered by this court. So impoundment order just means sealed. It's just a fun way that Massachusetts says sealed. So there was an impoundment order for the names of the jury for 10 days, and it was up, I believe, like either July 8th or 9th. And so the names of the jury would be available, um, findable, searchable. They would be noted. Um, and that is a thing that happens. You are able to see the names of jury on trials because I think a lot more issues would arise if a jury were forever to be nameless. If you are faceless and nameless, you your own personal accountability disappears for the decisions that you make in that deliberation room if it gets to that point. So, yes, jurors and jurors names are there, accessible. But this was a we'll just keep reading. We'll get to it. Upon review of the motion and supporting documents, including the affidavit of Juror Doe, the court makes the following findings and order. Oh wait. I think we're doing this one backwards. Wait, let me just. Yeah, I think it was. Sorry, we started with the wrong one. Let's go to this one. We might want to read the affidavit first before. Okay. Affidavit of Juror Doe. Here we go. That was the court's response to it. Affidavit of Juror Doe. So this juror is coming forward and says, I have things that I need to say. Now comes Juror Doe. A pseudonym who on oath deposes and says as follows. 1. I am of legal age and have personal knowledge of the facts set forth herein. 2. I was a member of the jury that was seated in the recently concluded trial in the above captioned case, which is Commonwealth v. Karen Reed. I just retained counsel to represent me. I have read the impoundment order entered by Superior Court Associate Justice Beverly J. Cannoni on July 8th, 2024, which found that good cause exists to impound the list identifying the names of impaneled jurors in the trial of this case. As I read the court's order, it is scheduled to expire on July 18th. Okay, right. Dates are sorted out now, unless it is extended by the court. I submit this affidavit in support of my request to extend the impoundment order entered on July 8th. This is a juror who has legal counsel now. And so this is a big deal. You should not need legal counsel after being on a jury. Obviously, if you feel that you do, go get it. I would never be like, oh, you're getting a lawyer for what? Get a lawyer for sure. Absolutely, if you feel that you do need one, but why, because of being a juror, do you feel you need legal counsel? 7, I am asking that the impoundment order be extended indefinitely because I am in fear of my personal safety and the personal safety of my family if the names of the jury are made public. That's why they wanted legal counsel, because they are scared. And we talked about the fear last time. And I will be the first person to say I underestimated the fear. I completely underestimated the fear that at least one juror was feeling due to people and their actions. This sucks. I have read the impoundment order and noted on the very first page that individuals associated with this case have been charged criminally with intimidation. I am frightened for my personal safety as a result of learning that someone associated with this case has been criminally charged with intimidation. That sucks. I shouldn't be told to them though. It was because of the impoundment. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying withhold information, but I don't think it should be like, oh, by the way, you're on a jury and there's already been intimidation stuff. Like, there's already been issues with intimidation and charges are being placed on someone. So if anything happens, tell us. Like, that's like telling. I hate this. I also recall testimony from at least one witness who described being harassed by individuals and her family being harassed because of their involvement in this case. Okay. I also recall testimony from at least one witness who described being harassed by individuals and her family being harassed because of their involvement in this case. Those individuals, Jen McCabe, Jen's daughter, whose name I can't remember. I do not know any of the specifics of any such harassment, but I fear that my family and I will not only be harassed if the names of the jurors are made public, but that our personal safety will be seriously compromised. This person is living ever since this trial in a state of fear to exist because of this trial. We don't know what they look like, but the people in that courtroom do. McCabe's, Alberts, they do. I'm not saying that they would do something, but this person is fearing that somebody, someone, someone's could and would and will. During jury deliberations, we could hear even just KR supporters in Canton are being harassed. Did you hear about the bleach balloons? I did. I did hear about the bleach balloons. There is so much. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to talk about the activities outside of the courtroom. Yeah. Let's read this and then we'll talk about all of that. Mhm. 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 Yeah, because that's crazy. During jury deliberations, we could hear protesters outside screaming and yelling. During jury deliberations, you could hear the protesters outside screaming and yelling. I wish that was a note that was sent to the court. Hey, we can hear protesters outside screaming and yelling. And it's interrupting our jury deliberations. Is there any way like we could move? Wow. This juror, I don't want to say this juror, this jury was so extremely patient. And also, did that have anything to do with not being able to come to a unanimous decision on potentially count two on the list of charges? Because you could hear them. How clearly could you hear them? Was it just like background noise? I have questions, and I also am so mad. During our jury service, the members of the jury would meet at what was supposed to be a secret location to be transported to and from the courthouse by bus. Oh boy, after being discharged from jury service on July 1st, don't say it. We were taken by bus back to what was supposed to have been a secret location where we observed what appeared to be members of the media, including photographers. Shut up. How dare you? How absolutely dare you? If you were a member of the media and you were at that location where you know the jury was getting on the bus taking pictures, waiting for them, shame. You should be so effing ashamed of yourself. Know, you knew all of the town drama that was happening. Everybody in that community was up in some sort of arms, either pro or against Karen Reed. How dare you? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean they were waiting? That is off. That is so terrifying. If nothing else happened, if I couldn't hear the protesters, if I didn't think someone was going to attack me, that in itself is a problem. That in itself is a problem. I get that you're with the media and the picture, and the first person this and that's great. If you want to be the first person on the scene, that's on you. But you have to live with the shame of that. Having photographs of the jury from outside of the courtroom, knowing all of the like internal uh, drama, the things that have happened, knowing all of that. Oh wow. Oh my god. This makes me so mad. Okay. Okay, let's finish it. Let's finish it. I was so much in fear on my way home that I pulled over to the side of the road to see if I was being followed. Thankfully, I was not being followed. But that was and remains my mindset. If jurors' names are made public, we will be constantly threatened and harassed, and there will likely be a physical confrontation at some point. I need to like, I'm digesting this. Since being discharged from jury service on July 1st, I have read multiple news articles about the case and the attention that this case garnered across Massachusetts, New England, and the country. There are clearly people who have very strong opinions about this case and about the jurors who deliberated over many days. We've talked about the people having strong opinions, and taking their opinions and wording them in very awful ways on the internet. I have seen articles, comments to articles, and postings about the verdict saying some very nasty and dangerous things. Some individuals have expressed outrage and anger that the jury did not acquit the defendant. Some individuals have expressed outrage and anger that the jury did not find the defendant guilty. From both sides. Just yesterday, I read an article in the Boston Globe with the headline "Karen Reed case ended in a mistrial, but the diehards haven't given up." In approximately the 12th paragraph of this article, an administrator of a Karen Reed focused Facebook group, super cool, was quoted as saying, "The people who were on the fringe of being interested in it are now engulfed. The anger level was at a 9 before, and now it's at an 11.5." The article characterized this increase as a rising rage. This is giving me rage. This is rage for me. This is giving me rage. Later in this July 15 Boston Globe article, another individual interviewed by the reporter stated people are insane about this case. If they don't agree with you, they'll try to dox you. What the fuck? Like what do you mean? Okay, I get I've seen this happening. Like if you were online and you clicked on the hashtag, you saw some of this happening. And every time a little bit like entered my news feed, I said, "What the fuck? Where do you get off thinking that you are so right and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to I'm going to post your not publicly available address or your phone number or your maiden or this things that I found. I gathered from places that aren't publicly accessible. and I'm going to put it online. And I'm going to make people hate you and make you fear because you disagree with me. What the fuck? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you actually mean when you do that? You are are s- you're putting someone in a position that is so ultimately dangerous for what? For what? Because I have yet to see a person who has doxed someone say, "Well, I got what I wanted out of it." You got nothing out of it except potential charges. Like you got a case. That's is that what you wanted? Mm, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Ooh, this is. I understand the term dox to mean that individuals will publicize someone's personal information, including someone's residential address, occupation, business address, etc. Stuff, publicizing stuff that is readily available on the internet, that's accessible to the public, is not doxing, but publishing stuff that is not accessible, readily available on the internet is doxing. So if you are someone who um, your address is not readily available, publicly accessible on the internet, and someone puts your address on the internet and says, "Hey, this is this person's address," just need you to know. Uh, doxing. We remember. I don't know if you were around. Um, SS Sniper Wolf doxed Jack's Films. She went to his house, took videos of it, put it on the internet with his address. That's doxing. Saying he lives right there. The man the man calling me out on my bad actions, he lives right there. So what are you guys gonna do? What are you guys gonna do? That's a crock pot full of garbage. I hate that so much. I hate that so much. Publicizing my personal information in this context exposes me and my family to unwanted and likely surprise encounters with strangers who likely have an axe to grind with any juror. I have seen social media posts that were very demeaning of any of and attacking the integrity of the trial judge. If someone is going to attack a sitting judge, I see no reason why they would not demean and attack verbally and physically a juror who sat on this jury. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. No, no, no. I think this sucks. Like this sucks because this is a real human being who was forced to do this, essentially, who was forced to do this and is now suffering consequences that they do not need to suffer, that should be completely off the table 100%. It should not be an option. It should not be a oopsie every now and then someone feels fear to the point where they need to hire a lawyer and essentially legally beg for the judge to keep their name private because they are scared to live in the community that they live in because they were called to jury duty one day. Oh my God. I understand that there are individuals who are upset that an impoundment order sealing was entered and that they are actively seeking the identity of all the jurors. Cut it out. Don't do that. Don't do that. What? It's little. If you have any respect whatsoever, like a minuscule amount for the judicial system, which I don't say I have 100% respect for the judicial system. I think the judicial system has a lot of work to do, right? I think there's a lot of things wrong with the judicial system. And I think there's a lot of things wrong with a lot of people who have a lot of power in the judicial system. And I think that's fair to say and safe to say. But what I do have respect for is humans, jurors, and their privacy. right? Like if you don't have any respect, you should have respect for that. They did not control being on this trial. They did not control getting that letter in the mail to call them to jury duty. They did not control when they called that phone number. They said, nope, yep, you still got to come in, right? They did not control. They did not ask for this, right? They didn't ask for this. My God. For example, my attorneys, they are now paying for a lawyer. A juror is paying for a lawyer because of the amount of fear that they're existing in. For example, my attorneys have made me aware of a video posted by a blogger slash journalist, whom I understand to be a person who has been charged with witness intimidation related to this case, speaking about the trial and the jury's inability to reach a unanimous verdict on all counts after trial. In the video, the blogger initially states that he has identified the jury foreperson in this case. Not only does the blogger state that he has identified the jury foreperson, but also where this person lives and what the person does for a living. A link to this video can be found here. We're not going there. In this same video, the blogger demands to know the identity of the expletive idiot on this jury who did not vote in his preferred manner, and further that whoever did that subverted justice. Like, they helped cover up for a murder. As far as I'm concerned, fuck them. That's what I think. I'm having a hard time with this. I'm having a very hard time with this. The blogger states in another video posted to X, who outed the Chesna juror. Remember that? The one woman who hung the Michael Chesna case in July. The jury lists are public. So I got the jury list and I went down the list and I found the juror who hung the jury. And I shamed her, as I should, because it's shameful. Emphasis added. I'm going to scream. I'm going to scream out loud. I'm going to scream out loud. A link to this post can be found here. I understand the above-mentioned blogger has been accused of harassing witnesses in this case, including by organizing crowds of people to harass them outside their homes. And I am aware that he has made statements in a blog from 2023 to the effect of murderers. Oh, let me get this nice and big for y'all. Murderers and those who cover for them do not deserve to live a comfortable life while Karen Reed suffers and fights for justice for John O'Keefe. Oh my God. Brother, if, as he stated, this blogger believes that members of the jury on which I served helped cover up for a murder, and he further believes that those who cover for murderers are legitimate targets of harassment, I fully expect that members of the jury will be subjected to efforts to harass and shame them, with the very real probability that some physical confrontation will inevitably occur. My concerns are not limited to a particular blogger or to a particular side of this case. I am aware that there are other outspoken bloggers, commentators, and groups of people who wished for a guilty verdict on some or all charges against the defendant. I'm aware that there have been physical confrontations between the two sides of supporters. An example of this is from two recent postings by an individual who appears to be a reporter from New Bedford. In today's post, she stated that she was in court today defending against a harassment charge against her and her pursuit of a counter-harassment charge. Yesterday, this reporter posted about getting protection from another blogger. While I do not know the facts concerning these court appearances, it is very evident that individuals on all sides in this case have acted irrationally and aggressively over the past few years, which has caused multiple court appearances by parties seeking protection of the courts from other individuals. I mean, what the fuck? In light of the mistrial, there is no end in sight to this irrational behavior, which clearly continues today. Jurors will undoubtedly be subjected to harassment and likely physical confrontations if their names are made public. My affidavit A motion should not be interpreted as indicating how I or any other juror voted on this case, or how I or any other juror feel about this case. Every member of the jury, regardless of how they voted, is likely to face backlash. My C's are not working. From a segment of the large portion of the public who intensely followed this case. I wish to remain anonymous, and I bring this motion on behalf of myself and any other juror who does not wish to be identified, regardless of whether or not we agreed during our deliberations. Okay. It was an honor to serve on the jury. It also was a significant sacrifice of time, word, which I understood and anticipated when I was selected. What I did not anticipate, however, was the likelihood that I and other members of the jury would become targets of intense public scrutiny and likely harassment campaigns strictly due to the outcome of our private deliberations, which shouldn't happen. It should not be an option. It shouldn't be on the table. It shouldn't even be thought about. Like, if jury names are made public, I will be subject to nonstop requests for comment about jury deliberations. True. I would prefer to not have to respond to these inquiries. However, what I fear is not only will I be subject to requests for interviews, but that I will be targeted and harassed because of what I did or did not do on that jury. I fear that verbal harassment will likely lead to physical confrontation and physical harm. I am not prepared or equipped to anticipate and prepare for any surprise personal attack. More importantly, I fear that I will not be able to protect myself and my family. Signed under penalties of perjury on 16th day of July, Jurado. And this was okay, this is let's just take a look at this. I hereby certify this document, if filed, will be sent by separate email to all counsel of record at the office of the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts at the following addresses: Yannetti, Jackson, Weinberg, Lally, and okay, so all of that. So talking about what has happened outside of the jury room, aside of the courtroom with human beings. Um, Ronnie was mentioning the bleach balloons, that there was an incident with bleach filled balloons thrown on someone's yard. Um, there's mention of bloggers and journalists and reporters um, saying and doing things that are, one, completely inappropriate, but two, invasive. People who call themselves journalists, people who call themselves bloggers, when they're just like purposefully inciting um, people to cross the line. Um, it's this is too much. That's too much. That's too far. I think and I was saying, earlier, I think it's fine to care, to read, to listen, to watch, to talk, to communicate, to have conversations, be on a thread. Like Karen Reed trial Reddit, um, excuse me, is I don't get much into the comments. I will read a post with something that is like this document, or this is what happened, or this is how I feel. I'm happy to have a discussion type of energy. But I personally think they did a really good job of sort of keeping the wild extreme um, topics and actions off of there. I mean, it's hard. You can't control what people do. But when it goes to places like Twitter, people call it X. I will probably forever call it Twitter. X just doesn't roll off the tongue like Twitter does. Um, when it comes to places like Twitter, it is very easy to be very extreme. It is very easy to go above and beyond. Um, and it's very easy to garner uh, support for your extreme activities. Um, it's very easy to not control what you say and how you say it. It's so easy there. It's so easy to just let it all out. And because there's no barrier, Twitter is no holds barred. there's there's nothing you can't do on Twitter. So that's where you go to do anything that you want to do. And when you exist with Twitter constantly, you're you're constantly being approved to say all these crazy things, right? And it's so easy to jump to, I can do crazy things too, you know. I can get approval by all these people to do these crazy things, and when I show them the video of the crazy things that I'm doing or that are happening, I'm gonna get all of these big reactions, and people are watching and talking and this and that, and it's too much. It is so out of control, the things that I have seen, and I haven't even seen everything because I won't. I can't. I just cannot. I can't. I will not do it. I haven't seen everything. I don't want to see everything. I don't want to know about everything. The little things that I have seen and come across are so outrageously awful, so outrageously disgusting. So it so defeats the purpose of what we're doing here in the courtroom and like right here. Right? It's so bad. It's so bad and it's so sad. And so after trial, getting a little more in depth and kind of letting a little more roll in of the things that have happened and the things that are happening um outside of the courtroom. I saw a little bit more. I tried to keep away from all of that during the trial. Um as much as possible. I let a little more roll in because I did kind of want to see, like, how far are you actually going to go? And a lot of people are going to go very, very, very fucking far. So it makes sense um that a juror would say, I'm scared. It makes sense. That all of the nastiness, the turtle, the dead turtle, the charges, the intimidation, the articles, the videos, the shaming the jurors, and that is too much. Who do you think you are? um it makes sense that at least one juror is feeling this way. I would not be surprised to see another juror come forward and say, I agree. We need more of that energy because you may not be watching what is happening, but you should know what is happening. So that energy coupled with the Alberts, Higgins, McCabe's uh energy of like, I'm trying to intimidate you inside the courtroom makes sense. I wasn't taking any of that in when I was watching the trial. Um so I didn't really think about it when I was thinking about the trial. Like, yeah, I thought there's a little bit about it, there's energy out there, there's protesters and whatnot. Um, and then when I saw what was happening at just like the city town council hearings, it really like shit. Like, it's going down. It's happening. This is like real. They are not stopping. They're just getting worse. Things are just getting worse. The actions are getting bigger. People are getting meaner. Um, so it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not exactly sure. There might be a case or two where the jury has been sealed indefinitely. But it also having a nameless, faceless jury is dangerous, and setting the precedent for that is dangerous. Like you need to be able to hold yourself accountable as well for the things. Like this is part of the judicial system that exists for a reason. The safety measure for jurors needs to be taken into account for sure. But we can't have a faceless, nameless, disappear back into society jury constantly. Like every time can't be that. We can't have that. But I do see plenty of reasoning to have the conversation inside the courtroom on record, um, to see if you know if a forever situation is good enough, but faces are still known, faces are still seen, photographers still have their photos, right? That from what they saw, um, at the secret spot. So I don't. It shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't feel the fear. I don't know how to stop it. I feel like everyone is um going above and beyond lately for all of the things, not just this case. Um and I don't like it. I think more people need therapy. That's what I'm saying. I think more people need therapy. And that is it's fine to need therapy. Go to a therapist and they'll tell you. They'll tell you. Okay, so this is the the court's findings and order. Okay, this matter came before the court on the emergency motion of Juror Doe to extend the July 18th impoundment order entered by this court. Upon review of the motion and supporting documents included the affidavit of Juror Doe, the court makes the following findings and the order. This case has garnered significant and divisive attention in Massachusetts across the nation. Individuals associated with this case have been charged with intimidation, which charges remain pending. Juror Doe has submitted a detailed affidavit, which I find to be credible. Juror Doe is in reasonable fear for their safety and the safety of their family if the list of jurors is made available to the public. Through their affidavit, Juror Doe has established that publication of the list identifying the names of the impaneled jurors will present a real and present risk of personal harm to jurors and to the integrity of their service. And we'll go on to the last page. Through their affidavit, Juror Doe has established that there is a continuing risk of immediate and irreparable injury should the jury list be made available to the public at this time. Through their affidavit, Juror Doe has established good cause to extend the impoundment order dated July 8th, 2024, until and unless otherwise ordered by the court. This order shall not preclude any juror from identifying himself or herself and or speaking to the public about his/her jury service. So ordered, Beverly J. Cannoni. Okay, so Judge Bev said indefinitely until I decide otherwise, impounded. Safety first, which is fantastic, which we love. Okay, okie dokie. We have one more to go. We have one more to go. Okay, so this is defendant Karen Reed's second supplemental memorandum in support of her motion to dismiss. And how many pages is it? I think 3. Yes, we're almost done, you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get food. All right, let me get this up here. All right. Defendant Karen Reed's second supplemental memorandum in support of her motion to dismiss. Now comes the defendant, Karen Reed, by and through undersigned counsel, and hereby respectfully submits the second supplemental memorandum in support of her motion to dismiss filed July 8th, 2024. As reflected in the attached affidavit of Alan J. Jackson, a fifth deliberating juror has confirmed that the jury was unanimous on 1 and 3 that Karen Reed was not guilty of those charges. Alan J. Jackson's second supplemental affidavit. Where is that one? I don't think I have that one. But anywho, we'll get the vibe. It'll all pretty much be in here. Based on the attached affidavit, all of the reasons set forth in its opening motion, first supplemental memorandum, and reply, the defense respectfully renews its contention that the jury acquitted Miss Reed on counts 1 and 3, or alternatively, there was no manifest necessity for a mistrial as to those counts, and therefore the double jeopardy protections of the federal and state constitutions require that those counts not be retried. If the court would prefer to rule on the basis of affidavits executed directly by the jurors, the defense respectfully requests permission to initiate contact with jurors A, D, and E for the sole purpose of asking them to affirm the accuracy of the 3 affidavits of Alan J. Jackson, not Johnson. Jackson, not Johnson. We might be able to find it. Respectfully submitted, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's see. All right. So basically, just another juror is saying that we acquitted. So let me stop this. Get rid of this. Okay. Keep working. Here we go. Okay. So we have had update after update, additional after additional after additional, and this and supplemental and this all the things. We've had all the things. We've had all the things. They keep coming in, they keep happening. So what happens now? Well, tomorrow, 2 p.m., 2:30, 2 p.m., one of those times. Tomorrow, there is going to be what was supposed to be a scheduling hearing for trial number 2. I don't know if Judge Canoni will be there. If she is, I feel like she's going to be. Is the activity in the itinerary going to be scheduling for that hearing? I have a feeling that it's going to shift pretty quick to dismiss. We motion to dismiss. So can we do that? Can we just talk about that before we schedule another trial? Let's talk about all these jurors coming forward and sort all of that out before things get bad. I don't know if they'll be like indefinitely, forever, until forever ends. We can keep the jury sealed. The defense is definitely going to want to get some sort of hearing voir dire of the jurors so we can get, are we sure that everyone said not guilty on count 1, not guilty on count 3? They're going to want that information. I will not be streaming that tomorrow. If it is streamed, I will be watching it. Next time I see you won't be this coming week. I am booked and busy this week, unfortunately, so I won't be like breaking it down like I would really want to. I got a thing that I couldn't say no to. I got an offer that I could not say no to. So I have to do that. And so my week is going to be like Monday through Sunday, just totally slammed. So I really wanted to start the Ashley Benefield case, which trial or jury selection begins on Monday. I don't know if I'm going to even be able to like catch up on it because I'm going to be I'm not going to be doing this for many, many, many days. And by many, many days, I mean like a week and a half, because end of the week is usually when I'm able to stream in the daytime. So what am I going to do? Great question. Let's see what else is coming up. I'm just going to eat a Skittle real fast. Okay. So I think, let's see. Robert, tell us. This might be an interesting one. Um, so the Robert Tellis case, is going to be happening soon. And that's a pretty interesting thing. So I might do that one. I might cover that one instead. Because I'm not going to be able to cover the Benefield one. Like I'm going to be like a week and a half late into it, you know? So this is an ex-elected official who is accused of killing a Las Vegas journalist. So this one, yeah, we'll probably cover the Tellis case. That's supposed to start August 5th. So we'll probably cover that one unless something else happens in between that. But I'm going to keep up. I will eventually, I'm sure more stuff will happen after the Karen Reed hearing on tomorrow as well. So I'll do like once I'm back to normal, I'll do another video on that. I'm thinking about covering, well, at least not like covering, but like talking about storyifying some things for you as well for in between. Unfortunately, there will always be another trial. I know. I was really interested in this Ashley Benefield trial. The little bit that I knew was very strange to me. I will probably be watching it. I won't be around to um stream it because I can't be here. So, but I will probably be keeping my ears on it. So if you guys want to talk about it, like personally, but I'll keep covering the Karen Reed stuff, and we'll cover another trial once that thing happens. And then other than that, I I'm gonna be I want to do kind of like some little deep dives into things, um, stuff like that. So that's the plan. That's the plan here. I did stream this on Twitch. I don't know how that is going. I don't know how that looks right now. I am able to see all the comments from Twitch when I stream on StreamYard, which is cool. So I was like, might as well stream on Twitch too. I don't have anything happening on Twitch. It's just the Chatty Juror over on Twitch as well. Well, that's that. So if you guys don't like YouTube, I'm over there same time. Anywho, I'm gonna go. I'm hungry. It is what is it? Tynamo Day on Pokemon Go. I have a thing at 3. It's a big day. We gotta go. I will see you guys later. Be good. I'll see you later. Okay. Okay, bye. Wait, let's just do it one more time. 3 times the charm. Because